Here's the idea. A conscious spending plan involves 4 major buckets where your money will go: fixed costs, investments, savings, and guilt-free spending money. Let me walk you through each of these categories. Fixed costs include rent, utilities, debt, etc. That's going to represent approximately 50 to 60% of your take-home pay. Investments, including 401ks, Roth IRAs, etc., are going to include roughly 10% of your take-home pay. Savings goals, like a vacation, down payment on a house, emergency fund, even gifts, will represent roughly 5 to 10% of your take-home pay. And finally, guilt-free spending money. This is eating out, going out for a round of drinks, movies, clothes, shoes, etc. This is going to represent roughly 20 to 35% of your take-home pay. Let's go through each of these. Monthly fixed costs. Fixed costs are the amounts you must pay, like your rent or mortgage, utilities, cell phone, and student loans. A good rule of thumb is that fixed costs should be 50 to 60% of your take-home pay. Before you can do anything else, you've got to figure out how much these add up to. Now, you'd think this would be easy to figure out, right? Well, it turns out this is one of the toughest questions in personal finance. To find the answer, let's walk through this step by step. I'm going to give you a series of fixed expenses. Write these down, and next to it, you'll write down the amounts that you spend on each category. Let's start with rent or mortgage, then utilities, medical insurance and bills, car payment, public transportation, debt payments, groceries, clothes, and internet/cable. If you notice any glaring omissions of your major spending categories, add them. Notice that I didn't include eating out or entertainment, as those will go under the guilt-free spending category. For simplicity, I also didn't include taxes. You can search for IRS withholding calculator to double-check the amount of taxes that your employer withholds from each paycheck to pay your taxes. In these examples, we're just working with take-home pay. So go ahead and fill in the dollar amounts for each expense if you know them offhand. Now, to fill in the costs and categories you haven't accounted for, you're going to have to dive a little deeper. You'll need to look at your past spending to fill in all the dollar amounts and to make sure you've covered every category. As a suggestion, limit this to the past couple of months to keep things simple. The easiest way to get an idea of what you've spent where is to look at your credit card and banking statements. Sure, you may not capture every last expense doing it this way, but it's 85% of the way there, which is good enough for now. Finally, once you've gotten all your expenses filled in, add 15% for expenditures you haven't counted yet. Yes, really. For example, you probably didn't capture car repair, which can cost $400 each time, or if you break it down, that's $33 a month. Or dry cleaning, or emergency medical care, or charitable donations. A flat 15% will likely cover you for things you haven't figured in yet, and you can get more accurate as time goes on. As a side note, I actually have a stupid mistakes category in my money system. When I first started this, I saved $20 a month for unexpected expenses. Then within 2 months, I had to go to the doctor for $600, and I got a traffic ticket for more than $100. That changed things quickly, and I currently save about $200 a month for unexpected expenses. At the end of the year, if I haven't spent that money, I save half and I spend the other half. Okay, once you've got a fairly accurate number here, subtract it from your take-home pay. Now you'll know how much you have left over to spend in the other categories, which are investing, saving, and guilt-free spending. Plus, you'll have an idea of a few targeted expense areas that you can cut down on to give yourself more money to save and invest. Long-term investments. This bucket includes the amount you'll send to your 401k and Roth IRA each month. A good rule of thumb is to invest 10% of your take-home pay, that's after-tax money, for the long term. Your 401k contributions count towards the 10%. So if you already participate in a 401k, you'll need to add that amount to your take-home money to get a total monthly salary. If you're not sure how much to allot to your investing bucket, open up an investment calculator from bankrate.com. You can just search for investment calculator Bankrate and enter some numbers. Experiment with contributing $100 a month, $200 a month, $500 a month, even $1,000 a month. Assume an 8% return. You will see dramatic differences over 40 years. Because most of your investments will be in tax-advantaged retirement accounts, which we'll cover in this chapter, remove the taxes to get a back-of-the-napkin calculation. Just understand that taxes will ultimately take a chunk of your 401k returns. The key point here, the more aggressively you save now, the more you'll have later. Savings goals. This bucket includes short-term savings goals like holiday gifts and vacations, mid-term savings goals like a wedding in a few years, and larger, longer-term goals like a down payment on a house. To determine how much you should be putting away each month, check out these examples. They will shock you. Gifts for friends and family. Life used to be simple. The holidays meant presents for my parents and siblings. Then my family grew with nieces, nephews, and new in-laws. Suddenly I need to buy a whole bunch more gifts every single year. Don't let things like gifts surprise you. You already know the common gifts you'll buy. Holidays, probably birthday presents. What about anniversaries or special gifts like graduation? For me, a rich life includes preparing for predictable expenses so they don't surprise me. Planning ahead isn't weird. It's smart. You already know you're going to buy Christmas gifts every December, so plan for it in January. Now let me show you how to apply this principle to even bigger expenses. Your wedding, whether you're engaged or not. The average wedding costs over $30,000, and in my experience, once you factor all the expenses in, it's closer to $35,000. To be more precise, Slate writer Will Oremus writes, in 2012, when the average wedding cost was $27,427, the median was $18,086. In Manhattan, where the widely reported average is $76,687, the median is $55,104. From a financial perspective, I always assume the worst. That lets me plan conservatively. And as someone who planned a large wedding with my wife, I know how phantom expenses can easily push that number way higher than you anticipate. So let's use $30,000 as an average number for easy math. Because we know the average ages when people get married, you can figure out exactly how much you need to be saving, assuming you want to pay for it without help and without debt.